I think the reality is that a very obvious use case for AI, and this is not necessarily just agentic AI, but generative AI as well, is in trip planning, right? Which is to help the prospective traveler with the imagination, inspiration, ideation, all the way through to transaction, sort of value chain or click flow, if you will, which has already been substantially digitized, right? I mean, we had Google search before Google search. We had Expedia and the OTAs, and before the OTAs, we had travel agents. So there's always been a someone or something or some enabler that facilitates trip discovery, right? The That being said, I think one of the more complicated aspects of travel planning is not just travel inspiration and imagination. It's about how do you monetize if you're a travel supplier or a value chain participant. How do you monetize those eyeballs into an actual real business, right? And it took the industry years to figure out search engine optimization, search engine marketing, SEM, SEO, Google keywords. How much do I actually, subscribe to so and so word and do so in the ad bidding marketplace? And it took, I would argue, the best part of multiple decades for the sector to finally get the travel sector to finally get its head around perfecting the art of customer acquisition and retention. And now all of that is going to be upended quite significantly, right? So if you're a hotel, one of the benefits of the typical OTA discovery process was that if you went into an OTA and you typed in, New York City and you specified a few dates, you would get sort of this long list of, for New York, 574 uncurated, hotel options that somehow existed on the search screen. Now you may have to scroll through a few screens to get for your specific property to show up, but at least you were presented all these options. With generative AI, that list of 500 and something is now 4 to 5, and with agentic AI, hypothetically at least, a traveler may never even see any list of options, but the agent might actually commit to the traveler's preferences based on their knowledge and awareness of what the initial human travelers objectives are or what they're trying to solve for, right? So it really upends your entire customer acquisition funnel. It also creates a situation where the hotel industry for the many years has fought hard to try to reclaim brand relevance and push direct distribution, and sort of had finally gotten to a sort of an uneasy truce with the OTAs. All of that is about to be upended, right? Because if you look through what happens today through the large language models or in travel discovery, many of the clickouts in the first screens are directly to the OTAs. And so the OTAs, many of them are viewing this as an opportunity to reclaim their primacy at the top of the funnel in travel discovery all the way through to transact, right? And so it is a fascinating time. I would say that we are in the first innings of what might be a very, very long baseball game, right? And so the jury is still out in terms of how traveler preferences are going to shift, how the industry is going to adapt its own distribution models and marketing spend to effectively come to effectively accommodate what is increasingly a LLM led or LLM initiated search process. I think we still have some work. Even the LLMs, frankly, have some work to get to a truly agentified world, Abid, where we trust an agent to actually commit the transaction on our behalf with our credit card information and all of that. I think we're still a while away from breaking that trust barrier, at least for travel. And let's not forget, the other element of this that I think the industry, especially the more technologically savant end of this industry, underestimates, is that for a signature leisure trip, um, travel planning in and of itself and all the quote unquote tedium of looking at multiple websites and getting inspired is actually part of the fun, right? There are many people who get joy from planning their trip and looking at the pictures and watching videos and listening to influencers' views or reading reviews And if you allowed an agent to do all of that for you, what's the fun? And so there is at least a subset of travelers who are probably going to not want a overly agentified experience where they lose both the control of the overall planning process, but also, frankly, the dopamine hit that comes from participating in that process to begin